September 13, 2024, and we have a new blog post. Director's Take, Juno, Clash, and a look ahead at Midseason. To Midseason. I changed the word. Hey y'all, Alec here. This week's Director's Take will be a small reflection on the first half of Season 12 with a release of Juno and Clash, as well as a brief look at some tweaks coming in Mid-Season patch and beyond. Checking in on Juno. Please no nerfs. Please no nerfs. Let's start with Juno. Honestly, it's been such a joy seeing the community fall in love with our favorite Martian. We started on her prototype early last year and went through many iterations to get to the Juno you see today. Heck, we were still a little worried about the lock-on damage ability, but y'all have seemed to acclimate well to combating her pulsar torpedoes. Since that first round of buffs shortly after her launch, Juno has remained in that safe side of strong zone we aim for. While Juno finds success in most modes, she does particularly well on payload and hybrid maps such as Socket Royale, King's Row, and Blizzard World. King's Row and Blizzard World. Yeah, I have been winning a lot of games on these maps, honestly, with her. This is quite different than a hero like Lucio, whose best modes are typically Flashpoint or Control. It's still early, but there's some indication that her speed may be more useful in tighter corridors and less open spaces. Things are still selling as far as composition goes, but if OWCS Korea is setting the trend, expect to see Juno getting paired with Honor Brig more in the weeks ahead. I think Juno's played as a direct consequence of D.VA being really strong. I think her numbers are okay, right? They're pretty good. I think we're learning how to play with her speed boosting and stuff, but I want to see how she plays if D.VA is that meta. If you have a reason to pick Juno over other heroes, because Juno is one of the very few supports that can actually not necessarily do something against D.VA, but not get exploded instantly because she has insane mobility. Heroes like Brig, you're going to be like, what do you mean with Brig? Brig's kit goes to D.VA's DM, so you will get value out of it. And if you play it smart, you have the armor, you will probably die, but slowly but surely you'll still stay alive. And then it's between Lucio and Juno that can just run away and try to exist against the D.VA. So how is Juno going to be played if D.VA's going to be nerfed? But I feel like a lot of players are starting to play with her ring, you know? Not like with Lifeweaver. Lifeweaver's pedal platform, it's 2024. A lot of teammates still don't know how the pedal platform works, bro. You know, now they change it, to be honest, but still, you know what I mean? The ring is more intuitive. The more playtime we're going to have with her, the more creative usages we're going to have with her speed ring and see her true potential. Overall, we're very happy with Juno's introduction to Overwatch 2. Your feedback during the trial led to plenty of changes going into Season 12, and the team has loved seeing all the fan art, gameplay clips, and genuine excitement for Juno over the last few weeks. As we progress further into the season, we're going to let Juno sit in her current state for a bit and observe how some elements of her kit mature over time to see if additional changes are needed. For example, how allies play with her ultimate. Thanks for the warm reception here. Good. So, fan art. No, not talking about this. We're talking about the fact that they just confirmed that they're going to let Juno sit in her current state for a bit. So this means, from what I understand, no buffs / no nerfs for Juno in the mid-season patch. They probably want to see what I said a little bit earlier, probably. I said probably already 3 times in the last 10 seconds. I will probably stop. Definitely stop now. Probably I'll do it one more time. That was the last one. So, no, that was it. So, yeah, she's going to stay like this. Let's see how strong she is without D.VA being meta, because D.VA's the one that's using the speed ring the most because she just zooms all over the place. So, yeah, sure. Good. No nerfs to Juno. I was a little bit scared going forward into mid-season patch. Next steps for Clash. One of the other big additions in Season 12 was our new mode Clash. When we set out to make Clash, we wanted it to contain more constant action than other modes, where you wouldn't feel like you're taking long treks to the next teamfight or objective. At one point during development, there was so much action that it became hard for folks to have words to have a clear understanding of which point was active at any given time. Nothing worse than winning a teamfight on the wrong point. With Clash now live, not only does it stand out in terms of pacing, Clash is fast and frantic, but the communication of where the match stands is also much more clear. Your feedback was quite helpful here to confirm a suspicion we had. Going for the last objective, A or E, was a Herculean task and generally not worth it. So he split up the final points into 3 segments to make it easier to acquire at least a single point on A or E. Okay. Even with some of those early changes to Clash, we think more tweaks are needed. Here are some of our current priorities in order for adjustments to Clash. Decrease current stomp rate and number of matches with an extremely short duration. I actually just had a game that was 5 minutes long, in top 500. And I've heard about games being 3 minutes long too, you know? Too fast with the duration and stuff, but I mean, if the build-up is right, sure. Incentives attacking objectives AoE, even more for the attackers, increase overall feelings of fairness, keep clash clear and understandable. A strategy, okay, and I'm gonna continue afterwards, a strategy that I heard in game is make them use ults on last point on defense. Like if they're defending A and you're attacking A, make them use ult and you don't use important ult. So for example, you can use Tracer's Pulse Bomb, but you're trying to get the Rally out or the Graviton Surge or I don't know, something out of them or the Nano or whatever. So you don't want to use ults if you're attacking on the last point that often. You want to get as many ults possible as you can out of the enemy team so that you just secure the next point. So that's the work around this. But incentivize attack. King objectives AoE even more good because this was like the meta a bit macro-wise. Ultimately, we'll be implementing a series of changes that can independently target different aspects of Clash while keeping the above priorities intact. Why are these priorities so important? Let's take a closer look. Oh wow, we're going in step by step. Decrease current stomp rate and number of matches with an extremely short duration. No one likes it when queues exceed your match time and some Clash matches end very quickly. While Overwatch can be a swingy game, often we find that matches stabilize after a certain number of team fights. Giving teams an additional chance to not get blown out will be quite healthy for Clash overall. True. Incentivize attacking objectives A and E, even more for the attackers. The final capture areas on Clash can be difficult to gain points on. Splitting these capture points into 3 ticks help, but we believe the attacking team should feel more comfortable going for that first tick rather than posturing and seeing if they force out ultimates from the defending team. Did they hear me? I'm kidding. They probably did. We don't want you to feel like the correct strategy is to hang back too often, as fighting on the final points can create good in-match tension. Ooh. Increase overall feeling of fairness. Attacking you to the enemy's side of the map should feel worthwhile, but currently there are games of Clash you lose even though you felt your team had the upper hand for the majority of the match. A defending team can snowball 2 fights into a final fight at a center point when your team, the previous attackers, didn't have the opportunity to group up yet. We want to make some tweaks to increase the feeling of fairness for attackers, particularly on the B or D objectives. Probably the speed cap time, if they can change that, or make it harder for them to unlock, longer for them to unlock, so you have time to set up. We'll see. Keep Clash clear and understandable. Clash can be chaotic. It's part of the allure of the mode, but also needs to be kept in check. By adding too much complexity to scoring, we run the risk of making it very hard for you to have a sense of how a match is progressing and how close the match is to finality. Right now, we feel like there's a good base to work from here without uprooting Clash's current fundamental goals. While we think some of Clash's blemishes will improve naturally, we've been testing tweaks to the mode with the above priorities in mind. Some light changes will go into Season 12's mid-season patch, and our first full round of tweaks will come at the start of Season 13 I mean. Thanks for all the feedback here. Okay. Let's see if they can make the game mode feel a little bit better. Right now, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling is, again, thing that Alec went in earlier with saving ultimates on last point. If you're attacking, trying to get as many ults as you can out of the defending team, and the fact that the games are shorter than the waiting time. So I think that if they bring more players to the game, we'll have shorter queues, which will mean that you're waiting less in queue compared to playing a Clash game mode. Clash lasts for 2 minutes, no problem. Queue lasts for 20 seconds. That's how you fix Clash. I'm kidding. We'll see what they're gonna be doing. Mid-season balance. D.Va. Finally, as we head into Season 12's mid-season patch, we're looking at the survivability of tanks. Since our bigger tank patch in 2.1.1, tank survivability shut up and it's felt very difficult to punish tanks effectively, D.Va especially. We want to pull back slightly, looking specifically at the power and armor and some of the defensive passives given to the tank role. Expect those changes and more to drop next week. Let's go! So, probably they're nerfing armor a bit, which affects, obviously, heroes that use armor. Secondly, tanks have a bunch of passives. Defensive passives given to the tank role. Talking about, just the top of my head, the fact that you get less ult charge if you shoot them or heal them if you're their teammates. You get booped less. So maybe Lucio buff and stuff. I don't know. And also, I hope D.Va nerf. Beyond the mid-season balance changes, we're currently experimenting with reducing the effectiveness of certain hero contexts, such as beam damage against a subset of tanks while they're using their defensive abilities. Sombra has been a hot topic lately, and we're looking at some changes to her stealth duration, among other things. Wait, what do you mean changes to her stealth duration? Don't you stay infinite in stealth now? What do you mean duration? You stay infinite in stealth now, right? I remember there was a time a couple of years ago when you would have a 20 seconds, I think, of you being in stealth. She's perma stealth. If they're looking changes to her stealth duration, it means that you're going to have a cap to that. Maybe it's not going to be permanent. Maybe it's going to be, I don't know. We'll see. You can look forward to these updates in the mid-season update coming next week, along with the Overwatch 2 x World of Warcraft special cosmetic event. I'm supposed to drop some WoW puns, but a large gust of wind blew through camp and scattered them around Stranglethorn. Wow! Thanks, everyone. Let's make a great game. So, this is the blog post to summarize. No nerfs / buffs to Juno in the mid-season patch is what I'm getting out of this. Secondly, some clash changes, some small ones in the mid-season patch, bigger ones in season 13. They're still looking at trying to improve this because the game lasts shorter than the queue time, which is pretty frustrating. And mid-season balance patch, they just said that D.Va especially, they do not specify exactly D.Va like what they're gonna do to her, but we can definitely feel that they want to nerf the survivability of tanks at the very least. And of course, some grad changes. We'll see. We'll see more news next week. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think? I, for one, I just want to see D.Va nerfs. Please. Please. If they do -1 second and call it a day on an ability. And with that, ML7